Hey, Natsu here. Fourth try. Because there's many more people than usual around. Normally I come out to talk exactly because, I can be cool. Kind of alone. But right now there's literally no end to them. Like, this is the fourth try. There's nobody around for the fourth time. But in the first tries, basically I was talking and suddenly after like 2-3 minutes, group of people, car, people, car. It's like, come on. But yeah, so part 3, or most likely part 3.1 of What If Deku was in danmachi with the 7 deadly sins skills. In the last part, Deku met Ice for the first time, with her feeling the weird, fear that's around Deku that she can tell is false. Like a massive bluff that just kind of is there. She also guessed that from how he was doing stuff, he didn't even know it was there. Basically when, like I said in the last part, it's basically the pride skill doing that, but for some reason it only activates when one of the other 7 deadly sins skills is activated. That or their extra skill. So basically right now he had demon blood activated, so the aura was there. But yeah, so with Deku basically leaving after that, she just kind of did her quest, went back and basically talked to the others about that. With Logan and Tiona basically saying that they didn't feel that when he was around them, which kind of puzzled them a bit. Basically, every time they meet him, it's as if the mystery becomes bigger and bigger, while everyone still keeps hearing, stories about how Deku, the demon guardian, keeps saving people, or we saw the demon guardian fighting stuff. And recently a weird story that started passing around, a few of them, now we cut to exactly 10 months before the anime starts. So yeah, a bit of a time skip. I think 4 months. But yeah, basically, recently, there's stories of a weird thing that has red and black wings that's stuck to the ceilings. And seems to be sleeping, kind of. At first, people thought it was just a higher level monsters, until some people basically just realized that, wait, black and red wings, isn't that just the demon guardian's, his wings? And so at some point, while Deku was coming back up to basically give his gems, someone basically was following him, and basically what it was literally someone who looked at, Deku while he was upside down, and saw him basically leave that spot after a while, go hunting, and then come up. What that was Deku sleeping in the dungeon. Basically going at a spot where he could have a higher ceiling, and basically using a new facet of his demon blood, which is, demon blood skill, which is actually that he can make himself grow claws, both hands and feet. So Deku basically started using that to sleep in the dungeon. So he sticks to the ceiling, nothing can get to him. People saw him from time to time, and that story basically came on. Which he heard rumors around, but never kind of guessed that, oh, they're talking about him, since they never really said the floor it was on. When someone finally followed him back out, and then said, hey, it's really the demon guardian. He's the one who basically looked like a stalactite on the ceiling of the dungeon, with multiple people basically just looking at him like, wait, it really is you who's been sleeping upside down? Well, staying upside down? With him basically just kind of realizing that, oh yeah, the stories were about him. And the reason why he's been doing that lately is actually that, well, he decided to hunt more to actually try to buy himself a house. Not that he was, like, well, had enough of sleeping in the inn. Well, not inn, but tavern. But more that he kind of started to feel as if he was putting pressure on them. So he wanted to get a house to himself to basically be able to sleep there without bugging them as he think, but actually it really doesn't bug anyone. So Deku basically just was doing that for a while, sleeping in the dungeon, and simply over time kind of just got that new nickname, the Gargoyle. Some people call him that just because of that, but most people keep referring to him as the Demon Guardian, or simply by his name, Deku. Basically, that was the first time that happened, with the story finally going back once again to the Loki familia, as well as the Freya familia. Those two familias basically were seeing him as something weird, that if he didn't have a familia, he needed to be taken in. The Freya familia, though, was looking at it a different way. Even if he has a familia, they just want him. Dot. As well as 2 or 3 other gods that are basically looking for him, but every time he leaves the guild, yeah, it's basically out. Hell, it's basically to a point where some members of certain familias are basically told, stay around the guild, as well as in the entrance, and basically wait for them to come out. Well, for him to come out. Which kind of just made people try to help him, because, yeah, no, there's too many people. So there's literally sometimes just adventurers that, when they see the groups, basically go down in the dungeon, try to find him, and then tell him, oh yeah, those members of that familia are basically waiting for you upstairs. Be careful. Doesn't happen that often, since they still need to go down in the dungeon. But yeah, so like 1 out of every 3 days, basically there's people waiting for him. So yeah, around that time though, something happened with Deku. He was actually looking for a bag or something that would be able to carry more stuff, since he could not bring that many more stones that, well, what he could already carry. So it was kind of annoying for him and everyone else. Since, you know, of course he has to leave some there, but sometimes it's basically people who just see stones on the ground and then kind of just see someone grabbing it like super fast, being Deku in his using both Wrath and Demon Blood skills, basically making a fear aura around him because of Pride activating the fear aura when one of those was activated, making people just see stone lying around and suddenly just something moving around, bringing fear to them. Like every time Deku is seen now, he just has that aura around him, making a lot of people basically just, well, that's basically one of the reasons why the Gargoyle title basically came. Well, not title, but name. But still, with most people calling him just the Demon Guardian. Since once again, a demon would bring fear to people. So, kind of work out. So, Deku, over time, basically just kept growing in stats. And remember, this is 10 months before the series starts. So, Deku... Oh, come on, there's bikes now. Yeah, I'm going to have to pause for a few seconds. Be back in a bit.
You said I'm fine. I said I'm not. You guys want to go up the concrete bridge?
Yeah, I hate peoples. Sorry about that. But yeah, so Deku, well, his highest stat right now, which 4 months later, is actually at 965. He doesn't know that since he cannot actually see his stats. Yes, he can grow by himself, but like I said previously, he cannot see his stats and he cannot level up without a god. His next highest stats is actually a lot closer this time, being at 812, being his strength. The rest are basically low. One funny thing though is that he has a magic stat that is rising. Basically, his Demon Blood skill, when he uses it, uses a tiny bit of magic that is actually so small that basically, even keeping it active forever, he wouldn't even see it go down. Since his capacity to regenerate magic is already good enough to basically counter that. So, Deku basically still upgrades his magic stat over time, which is his lowest. But only by like 50 points, so not by that much. And Deku decided to go down to the lower levels where there is the, basically the caves where there are holes to bring you down to lower levels. Well, even lower levels. And Deku basically went there for like his, I don't really know how many times. Basically he goes there a lot, which is basically there where he is mostly seen sleeping. So yeah, Deku goes there and what he's doing this time is actually a quest. A group of people basically were separated. Their group that was able to come out did search for them for a while but weren't able to. And so they basically asked if, someone could go there. Deku was the first to take the quest, and people knowing that he was basically the Demon Guardian basically just thought, yeah, that's the best person to go there. So, kind of just happened. And so he's been looking for those people. Yeah, sorry, I don't know why I didn't actually write the exact floor, so meh. Sorry about that. Because yes, even though I'm outside, I still have a script. Well, not exactly a script, more like everything that I need to be informed about without having exactly a text to read off of. But still, I have all the information, and I just said lower floor. That's basically all I wrote on that, which is dumb. But yeah, so deku. God, I'm going fast today. Sorry about that. But yeah, deku has been looking for those people. He's been looking for almost 20 hours already, and is starting to get a bit sleepy. But he's telling himself that he needs to at least look for a lot longer. Basically, he decided to tell himself, I'm looking for about 30 hours. If I didn't even find a scrap of them, yeah, I'm going down to the lower floor, right below that, looking for 10 hours, then going below that one. And if I don't find anything there, well, I'm going to tell them that they're dead because there's no way to find them. Which would be sad, but that was basically his plan. That wasn't actually his because he would have loved to just keep looking. But the receptionist basically told him not to go overboard and to basically just take a certain amount of time only. Since if they did die in the dungeon would absorb them. Or monsters would eat them. So at some point it basically becomes useless. So deku's been looking for a while. Almost ready to basically go down the floor. Or ready to go to sleep for a while to basically replenish himself. But then he hears a scream. A very loud one at that. He started running, using both Wrath and his demon form to actually be able to fly towards that place. And what he found was actually someone down on a ledge. Basically, partially fallen in one of the holes that brings down to the lower floors. That person was basically on a piece of rock that was coming out, trying to basically stay kind of there because it's very slippery, as well as someone else who's basically half dead trying to kill monsters and kind of failing, basically trying to keep the monsters off of her while they might find a way to bring her back up. So deku basically went straight for the hole, hoping that the person would survive the few seconds that, well, he kind of needs to go save the person. While he was going, well, to go for the hole though, the person was basically almost killed by an attack, which forced deku to basically go for him first. Basically ramming into some monsters, a minotaur to be precise right there, and then, wait, was it a minotaur? Yeah, minotaurs are there, yeah. Even though it's in my script written there, I sometimes doubt myself, so yeah. Basically he pushed away a minotaur, the thing that actually was about to kill the guy, and then killed it. Then he looked back for where the girl was, and she actually slipped, which made her start to fall. Deku basically being stuck killing monsters and protecting the other guy, knew that he couldn't reach her. He still kind of just like anyone would do, basically brought his hand towards her, thinking, I have to save her, being ready to jump in the hole anyway, when something felt weird. Basically, the aura of fear that he's emitting basically grew, since every time he activates one of the skill either bestowed to him by his 7 deadly sins skills or the extra skills that come from them, the fear basically grows. It's not multiplicative, it's just additive. So basically he passed from having like +2 fear to +3. I know it's not a real stat for that world, but basically the explanation that I have. And first, the monsters that were a bit weaker basically stepped back a bit, since normally he should really not be in those floors, since obviously he's not even with a single stat around 900. No, he's not even a level 2, so his stats are only at max at 900, but because of him basically being able to just do 2 level ups suddenly, quadrupling his strength by activating his abilities, yeah, people don't actually see it as that. They don't even know he can do that. They just think, oh, it's his full strength. It's just that he doesn't want to use it most of the time. Which, the only person that actually knows it's not that is the receptionist, because they could basically explain that, yeah, no, his power quadruples when he goes all out. So, basically, what just activated was the third 7 deadly sins skill. Greed. Basically, just think snatch from Ban. The ability to grab stuff and bring it to him, the ability to steal strength, magic, and whatever else from other people, the ability to what's it called, basically the extra skill is, well, the last part, which is basically his ability to hide himself and reduce his presence. Basically, all of those are the skills he got from there. Basically, the ability to take stats from others and the ability to grab stuff came from the skill specifically Greed. His ability to hide his presence actually comes from the extra skill that came with it, which I can't find the name right now, so let's forget about that. I'll tell it in the next part anyway, since I'm going to do another video later for part 3.2. But yeah, basically, the greed skill lets him bring to himself anything that he is physically able to lift. So if his stats allows him to, he can literally lift a boulder towards him. It can be used to attack if he tries to grab a weapon, a rock, or whatever that is behind something and then rams it into the thing. So it can be used to attack like that. But what they could use it right there for was actually to grab the girl that was falling and was able to pull her up. He basically felt the pull from his hand and basically pulled her. From the other's perspective, because Deku has a mask, so no shit, they don't see how he was looking at, but it literally just seems as if he put his hand towards her and lifted her up using magic. Basically thinking, oh, he already had that skill, he just didn't have time to use it beforehand. Which basically saved her, first of all. Second, because of the fear effect, some of the monsters basically backed away a bit. Obviously, with his stats being 4 times stronger, so that of a level 3. A Minotaur would even be scared of that if there was a fear effect. So yeah, he was able to scare most things away. He brought her up, basically gave her to the guy, and basically said to keep her safe. Before basically going on a basically going on a rampage against the monsters, eradicating them. He grabbed the stones, and then basically was grabbing the girl in his arm, the guy with his tail. I'm going to have to pause. Sorry about that. Because, yeah, people once again. At least thanks to the way I'm holding my phone and that I have my hoodie on, it basically just looks as if I'm talking to someone, so I look a little less crazy when I just stop talking, as if someone else was talking to me. But yeah, basically, he had the guy wrapped with his tail and the girl in his arm, and was basically flying through the floors, going back up, and basically was able to complete his quest, saving those people, with them basically passing up even more stories of him having the ability to basically lift stuff off the ground by saving someone from falling without even touching them. Basically giving even more attention to him, which was kind of, yeah, oh. There was a group of people that basically heard of that and basically started, every time Deku showed a new skill or a new ability, a group of people was starting to get more and more interested in him. A group belonging to a goddess that we didn't actually see directly in the anime. If I remember correctly, she's only shown in the female part of the manga or light novel, whichever. She's another goddess, but basically some of her followers are actually getting interested in Deku, and not in a good way. But still, Deku basically got, well, even more people interested in him, and gained a new power, which once again he doesn't know the name of, for obvious reasons. But yeah, so for the next 2 months, Deku was basically just training that. He discovered that he could temporarily take stat from things by basically trying to do it to a monster, but thinking basically, oh, can I grab other stuff? Basically thinking, I know sometimes monster can drop object when killing them. Can I take something like that? He wasn't able to directly picture what he could take. So he basically just thought, I just want to snatch something. And basically started feeling stronger while facing a monster. His speed was also increasing, while the monsters was actually decreasing. Making him realize that, oh, I can steal power as well. With him basically being just really amazed by this. At one point he also did that for his presence, using the extra skill, not the skill itself, which basically allows him to reduce, well, it's kind of a passive effect actually, but when he thinks that he wants to be hidden, the effect basically takes on fully. Well, if he doesn't want it to be activated, it's still there, so people who don't actually think of looking at him won't directly see him. Like, he's still in their they still see him, but they kind of don't realize he's there, since his presence basically disappears. So when he actually wants to be hidden, Yeah, there's nearly nothing that actually is able to find him. Unless their perception is basically high enough to basically be able to see invisible things, kind of. Like, that's the point at which here it is. Since his presence is literally taken partially from everyone. Basically, if they look at him, they see he's there. But if they don't look at him, and that they won't even know he's there. Like, everyone knows that feeling when, oh, someone's looking at you. Even if you're not looking directly at them, or seeing them looking at you, you can feel it. Basically, Deku could look at someone and they won't even have that. Meaning that, yeah, if he wants to, he can be hidden from monsters just by crouching, kind of, near a rock or something. If something has more presence than him, people see that instead. So monsters basically can just pass right next to him if something else is close to him. And that is more interesting. Deku basically found all about those abilities without knowing their name once again, which still annoys him. He basically called the first ability Snatch, and basically think the second part is kind of with it, so he doesn't really give it a name. He still gave names in his mind to each of those abilities: Snatch, Stats, Steal, and Present Steal, but meh. He just thinks they're all from the same exact ability. Which basically allowed him to kind of just disappear from mind. At any point, if people try to follow him, he can literally just disappear for them. So, yeah, it's basically the most useful thing for him right now. So, over time, Deku kind of just improved with everything about that, gained more stats. But for about, well, it was 10 months when he finally got that. For about 2 weeks he trained it and discovered all that. And then he decided to actually lay low for an entire month, because too many stories basically started popping up. Basically about him having way too many, like growing way too fast, and people saying that, yeah, no, I saw him when he just started being in the dungeon and he was nowhere near that strong. It's as if he gained 2 levels, as almost 3 levels in a few months. Which isn't true, but isn't wrong, since he can just basically double and quadruple instantly. But yeah, no, he still has the stat of a level 1 that are growing way too fucking fast. After that, we catch up to Deku finally going back to the dungeon for the first time in a month. And now it's basically about 2 weeks before the anime starts, where we see Belle basically covered in blood from Minotaur. No, Deku will not save him there. It's still eyes, as, whatever. Sorry about that. But yeah, so what Deku saw that day though was Deku coming out of the dungeon covered in blood. Since Deku basically started going back in the dungeon 2 weeks before that, he heard about an expedition basically to go hunt in lower floors from the Loki familia, and he basically saw Belle that day running out of the dungeon while covered in blood. Screaming, I should say. Also, since the dungeon and the guild are basically at 2 separate places, normally Deku does need to pass through the town, which is kind of hilarious, since he just basically disappears while in town, appears when in the guild, disappears while going back in town, and just appears when he's in the dungeon. Which basically makes people think he can teleport, or has a teleportation skill. Which is fucking hilarious when you count that, though he doesn't. But yeah, so many people think that nobody actually understands why he's even being seen by some people. And then they just think, yeah, it costs a lot of mana. It might be because of that. He doesn't have the magic to constantly do it. So he only does it when he goes out of the dungeon or to the dungeon. Another car, woohoo! Sorry about that. So, over time, Deku's reputation just had reached a super high level. So even Bell knew about him, even though nobody knew which familia he was from. When normally, basically, people know which familia you're from after you level up at least once. So people knowing that, oh yeah, this guy has the power of a level 3, but nobody knows where he's from, who he is, except that he is, well, they know his name is Deku, as well as him having two other names basically given by people and adventurer, since they don't know a name given to him by the gods. So, Bell knows of the adventurer named the Gargoyle, or the Demon Guardian. God damn, I'm more exhausted than usual. What the fuck's happening? Sorry about that. But yeah, so over time, Deku's when he was seen by Bell while he was running away from Eyes, basically Bell saw just the red masked man with wings, knowing it was the Demon Guardian. He was still freaking afraid, because obviously when Deku has 1 or 2 or more of his 7 deadly skins or extra skills activated, he does have the fear aura, making Bell feel even worse. Though when going back to see the elf, his receptionist, he talks about meeting Eyes as well as the Demon Guardian. First he asks about Eyes, obviously, which some people do kind of react the same way. And then he asks, do you know anything about the Demon Guardian? Let me repeat that. Do you know anything about the Demon Guardian? Which the entire guild basically falls silent at that moment. Basically, Bell just looks around, and then his receptionist, because I keep forgetting her name, basically tells him that nobody actually knows anything about him. Story circulates, which he should have heard about, but the moment he leaves the guild or the dungeon, it's as if he never existed. We can't even see him unless he's bringing people outside the dungeon and then back to the guild, which he is still in his demon form, which everyone just calls that by this point, because literally he has wings, he has a tail. It's barely if he doesn't have the horns, which no, he won't get. Yes, he has claws when he actually wants them, but yeah, people don't actually know about those. So, not long after that though, Bell basically asks if nobody really knows nothing about him, until Deku actually enters the guild. Which in that moment, basically, since none of his skills are active, people just hear the door, look, and even Bell basically just freezes. Because, he's there. And the reception is that he actually, that Deku has, basically greets him normally. And some people basically go up to him saying that, basically praising him, basically from all of the exploit that he has, and blah blah blah. So basically it's a common occurrence when Deku arrives, since yeah, almost every time he goes down in the dungeon he brings a large amount of stones. Sometimes they're just goblins, sometimes they're from minotaurs, and basically everyone just likes him. Then Belle basically just goes to him and tells him that he doesn't go up to him, but he just says out loud without thinking, "I don't feel fear anymore." Which everyone just looks at him and basically looks at Deku saying, "Yeah, we heard stories that when people see you in the dungeon, you radiate fear." Deku basically for the first time understand, that they're talking about me. The receptionist basically just asks, "Yeah, it's true that basically says that, yeah, I heard a lot of story about that as well. But what's different about when you're here and when you're in the dungeon?" Until someone basically just says, "His wings, he doesn't have them." With a few people basically just looking at Deku and asking him if he can show them the wings, since a lot of people never saw them. Deku basically just says he would prefer not to do that. And then a few other people saying, "None of the familias that are directly looking for you are here. Just do it." Pushing Deku until basically he decides to say okay. And the moment he takes out his wings, everyone just way stronger one, just feels the false fear that emanates from him. Well, kind of true fear, but they feel that it is fear, but that they should not feel that fear. And so basically some of them realize that, when you take out your wings, it gives a fear effect. Belle nearly on the ground crying about this by this point, because he just felt a massive amount of fear going through his body. Like, Deku's over 20 times stronger than him right now. He's going to get it. Like, a lot of other people also feel it, even people from outside the guild. Hell, they could just kept them out for a few seconds, but people had a commotion outside. Like, the further it is from him, the less it is, but still, people without a blessing still feel it, and they freak out. Okay, I'm getting back in civilization right now, so I'm going to pause it here. I'm going to be back in a bit for part 3.2. Hope you liked it. Natsu, out.